From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Wednesday, March 15th, 2017. Silver is trading at $16.93 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,201 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 1.3 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $1,250. Antiwar.com reports Russian officials have announced negotiations are beginning on a deal with the Republic of South Ossetia, wherein the tiny republic's military will be formally incorporated into the Russian military command structure. This will see a number of members of the South Ossetian military transferring to the Russian military. South Ossetia has a population of only around 50,000 people, and its independence is only recognized by a handful of nations, Russia being among them. The area originally seceded from the Republic of Georgia in 1991 and formally gained recognition from Russia and a few other nations in 2008 when Georgia attacked the area, starting a brief Russo-Georgian war which Russia decisively won. Russia has military forces in South Ossetia, nominally as peacekeepers but mostly as guarantors that Georgia won't attempt to retake the area militarily. Under the deal, it is expected that South Ossetian soldiers serving at the Russian base in the area will be allowed to join the Russian military outright, which allows South Ossetia to reduce its own military size. The Georgian foreign minister was quick to condemn the move, insisting that any agreement between the Russian Federation and the de facto government of South Ossetia was necessarily invalid because Georgia does not recognize South Ossetia's independence. They added that the integration with Russia's military would impede negotiations on resolving the territorial dispute. In practice, there are no negotiations to begin with, and probably never will be, with South Ossetia considering itself autonomous from Georgia since the waning years of the Soviet era and has long been more economically tied to North Ossetia, which is part of Russia, meaning the only real ties with Georgia are on paper.
In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores.
UPI reports U.S. Senator Jeanne Shaheen from New Hampshire introduced legislation that gives the Justice Department additional authority to investigate Russia's English-language news outlet, RT America, saying there are potential violations of the Foreign Agents Registration Act. Senator Shaheen said Tuesday in a news release, "We have good reason to believe that RT News is coordinating with the Russian government to spread misinformation and undermine our democratic process. The American public has the right to know if this is the case. My bill provides the authority needed to request documentation of RT News and find out who they're accountable to." RT America is part of RT, formerly Russia Today, a television network and digital news outlet that is funded by the Russian government. A report from January 6th from James Clapper, Director of National Intelligence, said that Russia's influence in the 2016 presidential election involved RT America.
For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co.
Reuters reports a Seattle federal judge on Tuesday recommended that his court hear the case of a Mexican immigrant with a work permit who is challenging his arrest by U.S. immigration authorities in February. In a report filed in district court, U.S. Magistrate Judge James Donahue recommended denying the U.S. government's motion to dismiss the case brought by Daniel Ramirez Medina, a so-called dreamer who came to the United States illegally with his parents when he was about 10 years old. The term dreamer refers to some 750,000 immigrants brought to the country illegally as children who have been afforded some protection from deportation under an Obama-era program called the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. Under U.S. law, deportation cases must be heard by immigration courts, which are administered by the DOJ. But attorneys for Ramirez say he is entitled to challenge the circumstances of his arrest in federal court. Donahue did not weigh in on the merits of the case, but recommended that the case proceed on an expedited schedule. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.